So I'll call the Facilities Committee meeting to order for Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. Would everyone please bow your heads and I'll lead us in a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this day. We're thankful for this free country we live in, and Father, we thank you for every customer that we have that we serve water and sewer. And Father, we're most thankful for our employees and their families, and just ask your protection and guide them. Father, thank you for this season, and thank you for what it means for all of us. And we just, and when we see the flowers blooming and everything else, we know it's all because of you and your Father, and the wonderful world you placed us in. Bless this meeting and let us be good stewards of the money that we're entrusted with. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. No public comment. We'll move to the approval section of minutes from the March 19, 2025 Facilities Committee meeting.
Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the minutes from Wednesday, March 19th.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Item 2 is agreement with HIC Altama LLC. Mr. Burris.
Yes, sir. So we talked about this, if you recall, at the February meeting. This is twisted the wrong way, sorry. At the February meeting, and I'll reorient us here. Got to work on our bookmarks. So Hoyer Investment, HIC Altama, owns the property on the northwest quadrant of Exit 42. And we approached them about potentially acquiring property from them to construct a new wastewater treatment plant to service the North Mainland area, essentially the area along Exit 42 down Highway 99. They were willing to discuss, and as part of their discussions, we, at the February meeting, brought forward a proposal for 16 acres. Today, the proposal is to acquire 20 acres from them per that discussion. And also, they are installing larger diameter gravity sewer pipe opposite the direction they would need to flow from their development back towards the new plant site. So essentially, their development is here on the screen. They could gravity flow back out into this intersection here, or proposed intersection at Highway 99, but they are installing gravity sewer back towards the north, towards the plant site, and they're installing larger diameter gravity sewer above and beyond what they need. And they're also in the process of installing force main all the way, and a pump station all the way to connect into the force main on Shell Road at pump station 4118. So all of that is under the works right now. And so the agreement that is before you is to acquire the 20 acres, and because of the discussion at the last meeting, the agreement lays out that within 60 days we will contract with somebody to do the survey of the 20 acres and then get that appraised at today's market value for that 20 acres. And then once the on-site construction activities are complete, the on-site construction activities are all of the work all the way to this connection point here, the value of that will be appraised against what the value would have been for improvements that would have been required without the wastewater treatment plant. This agreement would provide them credit in the amount of that difference. So the value of the property and the gap in the larger diameter gravity sewer and the temporary pump station that's being put in place and the force main improvements towards they could use for tap credit on their property, which is approximately 2,000 residential units plus some multifamily and commercial units along the road frontage. There's also provisions in the agreement as they build out the phases of their project and get to the point where they need additional capacity while we're in the process of constructing the wastewater treatment plant. There are other phases of the agreement which allow them to do work on pump station 4119 and 4118 from a SCADA programming perspective so that they don't pump against each other, and then to install a parallel force main from 4119 to the existing connection point here at near the Hill Point warehouse that's under construction right now. They would get credit for those and capital fees for that work done once it is bid out. So they would deliver to us biddable documents, at which point procurement team would put that out for bid. We would select the low bid, lowest responsive bidder at that time. HIC would then contract with them and manage the project moving forward. The term of the agreement is 15 years or 5 years following the completion of the wastewater treatment plant, whichever is later. We fully expect that to be 15 years because it shouldn't take 10 years to get the wastewater plant built. So it's a 15-year agreement. The agreement is in there that we are agreeing, if we approve this, that after they dedicate to us the first phase of the infrastructure, they have a reservation of capacity for the first 800 lots, which is, I believe, the first 6 phases of the property. And then the rest of the reservation comes as they complete additional work. They would have a bucket of credit we would then draw against until that is the credits are done away with. Two things: if they consume all of the credits with on-site work, there would be no additional transfer of funds. If for whatever reason they had more capital fees than what the credit is, they would be responsible for paying the additional capital fees at the time of pulling the building permit for those lots or the commercial construction. If they receive more credit than what their capital fees are on site, the amount above and beyond what their capital fee requirement is a 70% payback for up to 5 years until they recoup their investment at that time. Like I said, Mr. Dormany is here, can speak to the agreement as well. We have representatives from Hoyer and their engineer, Thompson Hutton, and we'll be happy to take whatever questions you may have at this time. The 20 acres we talked about last time, it was 16 acres right here. The other 4 acres we discussed would be off of the west side of the original property, which would increase the amount of available buffer space we would have between the residential development and any active wastewater treatment equipment.
What's the schedule for them starting the project?
Starting which project? They're actively putting the pipe in the ground now, and on site on the first 2 phases, or just the first phase?
Just the first phase.
Just the first phase right now. So when are you planning to turn over lots for construction right now?
Yeah, it's probably going to be Christmas and maybe January.
So end of the year, first of the year, start building houses out there, roughly. So the on-site phases are currently underway.
When do you think it'll be completely built out? Or 50%?
And as you know, sir, construction of a wastewater plant is a 4 to 5 year process. So
We have access through the property. Are the roads in there now? Have you already cleared for all the roads?
So we are constructing roads currently as part of the first phase. All the roads within the project are anticipated to be turned over to Glynn County to make public right of way, made into public right of way. As of right now, there's access all the way up to the temporary pump station via the existing WMA road that is owned by HIC. There's an access easement on it for WMA to use, but that can be used by anybody that's coming to the property to get to the existing temporary pump station.
How do we have access? Will our access change over the period of time?
No, so we planted an access easement that goes all the way up to the southern boundary of the property. So that's a part of our subdivision plat that we initially created. And so you'll be able to use that. Obviously, paved roads is going to be public. Once that paved road stops, you will have access via that private access easement in order to get all the way up to the pump.
Basically, we probably won't even have that. You'd probably go right up to the treatment plant site just about, won't you? You'd probably almost go all the way up to the treatment plant site with your road for the setback.
long term, yes, sir.
Yeah, once the roads are constructed, they will go right up to the treatment.
So So the county will be approving some of those roads pretty quick.
Yes, sir. First mile, over mile of road has already been approved by the county and some construction.
Upon completion of all the infrastructure out there, they then go through the dedication process and then it becomes public right away thereafter. Similar to the way they do the exact same thing to dedicate the infrastructure to us.
We're not gonna have any drainage coming onto our property from your property, right?
No, sir. And so the anticipation is that
Is it exhibited?
drainage from your property will be only contained within your property, but we do give you the opportunity to tie onto our infrastructure to get your water out. Get it out.
So you can see the roadway there
Ponds,
coming in.
we can get them discharging into those ponds.
So not to attenuate, right? So you have to attenuate on site, but discharge from your on-site pond can then be routed through our ponds to get to the outlet.
So here's the roadway. So you can kind of see on their exhibit here. The roadway comes in here. This is the existing 16 acres we had surveyed, and then this is the additional 4 acres. So the roadway will come in inside the 4 acres there. And so essentially this entire 4 acre here will be left as vegetated buffer.
Chairman, there is once the survey is completed, the developer is going to provide a temporary
Yes.
or access easement for construction.
Yeah. So we can go ahead and start doing work on site while we're going through that process. So y'all are just doing phase 1 on the on-site right now as far as your smaller mains. Right, so they're working in this area here now, and you can kind of see their phase build-out plan, what they're talking about doing here.
So phase 1, 159 lots, and then that's Spine Road, all the way to Tickler.
So they're building out to here right now. This is the temporary pump station site, and then this is the first 6 phases, which is roughly 800 lots. And then this is the future phases that would come on as they did additional work at a later date.
Roundabout coming off 95.
It'll be right here, right? Right here, yeah, right here and right here.
You'll have to go through that roundabout, 99.
And well, then they have one internal to the property too.
All our trucks get to Academy,
How do our trucks,
sledge trucks, yeah.
they would come down this roadway and then go down 99, likely all the way to 341, and then come down from 341 at the Sterling intersection. Because otherwise, we're going to spend a whole lot of time sitting on the spur. I don't want to do that. The future well-lit intersection of 99 and Golden Isles Parkway will go through there.
Hopefully.
Hopefully soon. So again, today we don't know the value. We're just agreeing that if we move forward with this, that whatever the value is appraised at, that is the value of tax credit they will be receiving. So we can't give you a specific dollar value today. It's estimated at around $5 million.
We have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Facilities Committee recommend entering into agreement with HIC Altama LLC for 20 acres of property and additional infrastructure improvements for enhanced water and wastewater services along and near Highway 99 and Exit 42.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Raise your right hand. Motion carries 3-0. Thank y'all very much for working with us.
We'll be doing this at 3 o'clock as well. You're all welcome to stay and or join us again at 3. And we'll do it again tomorrow. So it's up to y'all, but appreciate y'all's working and time with us on this. All right, this is the installation of 8 fixed generators funded by Hazard Mitigation Grant Program awarded by FEMA and GEMA. This project, we pre-purchased all of the 8 fixed generators due to the lead times associated with those generators. This, as you may be aware, this award was made in 2020. FEMA projects take a while to go through all of the different iterations you must go through, and 2020 was about the worst time as far as lead times for buying generators you could possibly get. So rather than trying to get a contractor to purchase these generators and hold prices waiting on what one of the generators was an 84-week lead time for delivery, we purchased the generators, then we bid the work out after the fact. So this is the installation contract. Now, a couple of things. The low bid for this contract is $4,905,080. There is a bid tab attached. And one thing that should immediately, well, I went the wrong way, immediately jump off the page at you is approximately half of the cost of the project is for one generator, slightly less than half, a little over 40% of the contract is for one generator. That is for a new 1,500 kW generator at Academy Creek. Academy Creek currently has two generators. There's a 450 and a 750. We are replacing those, but there's a third 1,500 kW generator that will run the new UV system, the solids building, the operations building, and the new RAS pumps that are being installed as part of the Reeves-Young contract right now. Currently, if we lose power, we do not have solids processing capabilities at Academy Creek while the power is out. We have to actually take one of our portable generators and hook it up to our operations center to run emergency operations out of that building, so we're tying up an asset right now. So the 1,500 kW generator, let me pull up the site here so I can show you, will be located very near the operations building, and there'll be quite a lot of conductor that has to be run, and so that large diameter wire is where the bulk of the cost is with this large generator installation. Where am I at? I'm way too far south. I'm about to say I'm way too far south. There we go. We got too many layers on here. Got to turn this thing off. So this is the operations building here, this big yellow thing. We're going to be putting the generator in this vicinity right here. It requires the building of a platform and the installation of a new transfer switch. We'll be running conductor down the roadway into this solids building, over here to the UV building, and into the backside of this building here. So that's where the bulk of that large generator cost comes from, is the construction of the platform and the conductor. My understanding from talking to suppliers, there's approximately $1 million worth of wire in that job to run that, for that the size conductors we're running. So the other ones you can see, there's 3 of them at Academy Creek. The one large one, the other 2 small ones will be replaced. And then there are 5 well sites: Fletsy, Goodyear, Howard Coffin, Mallory, and the airport. All 5 of those will be replaced with new generators. All 8 generators are currently on site at Academy Creek, ready to be relocated. The low bid is from Popco, who has done a considerable amount of work for us recently and is actually very nearing ending a lot of the work that they're doing with us, so this timing is going to work out pretty well. Again, the low bid was $4,905,080. So the combined cost for the purchase of the generators and the low bid is $6.1 million. That $6.1 million is substantially over what the approved funding for the FEMA project is of $1.3 million. We will be requesting a budget adjustment from FEMA. However, we have no guarantees that that will be granted. So just if we award this today, it is at risk that the additional money will not be granted. However, we've got 8 generators that ain't doing anything if we don't award and put them in place. So I recommend moving forward, and the uncommitted funds would come out of the R&R reserve. If we're fortunate that more or all of the additional funds are approved by FEMA, that will be reimbursed at a 75% rate to us per the original agreement. So with that, if the full adjustment is granted, we would be responsible for $735,000 of this. If not, we're on the hook for the full $4.9 million. So
You can't put that 1,500 generator closer to the building?
not because of all the additional piping that's in the ground back there, we would not. There's a spaghetti of pipes back there. There's very limited options we could put it back there. But also, it's 40 foot long, and space is not something we have a great deal of at that site.
We have some structural drawings on this too? or just-
Yes, structural drawings as well, yes, sir. Hussey Bell, Chatham Engineering did the electrical drawing, Hussey Bell sub to Chatham for the structural drawings for the platform for that site. There will also be a small platform built at Howard Coffin because it has to get out of the floodplain, and Howard Coffin well site is decidedly in the floodplain. So we'll have to get that elevated a little bit off the ground. The rest of them should be a standard 6-inch slab because they have belly tanks, fuel tanks on them, and the belly tanks take up 2 foot of space, so we should be out of the floodplain in all sites except for the big one at Academy and Howard Coffin.
Explain to me the alternates.
All right, so this is, I'll say, the numbers confuse me. What we were planning to do, if you look at the bid, and the FEMA likes you to do it this way, a complete in-place one number approach. It states whether we want to relocate the existing generator away and put it in the same place, or if we want to abandon the existing generator in place. So we bid out the ones that it made sense to potentially, we thought could save us money to just abandon the existing generator in place and relocate it and install a different one in a separate location. The numbers did not seem to A, matter much, or B, went the direction that did not seem to make a lot of sense to us. So we are recommending the base bid on this rather than any of the alternate items. And the base bid is to remove and dispose of all of them that are currently in place. So they'll be,
They're gonna be disposing of the generator.
well, not disposing, they'll be relocating all of them to exit 29 to the Southport plant, and then we will dispose of them for the scrap value. And we'll rob whatever parts we can off of them that may still be useful. Most of them have quite a lot of age on them. There's one of them that's not in bad shape, too bad shape. We might could repurpose it, but the other ones are either non-functional or are very much band-aided together to keep them functional right now.
Where are we getting the additional money from?
The R&R, uncommitted firms and the R&R reserve.
And the transfer switches, have they been installed?
They are here, they're not installed, but we have all transfer switches as well. They have to install the transfer switches as
They have to
portions.
install them on this?
As this, yes, so this is transfer switch, generator, pads, the whole nine.
What do you awarded
Now,
that to?
2 separate transfer switches. We had pump station transfer switches that we got installed for the first portion of the GEMA contract. These fixed generators came with new transfer switches that have not been installed, but that is not any of the locations that the previous transfer switches were installed. And we were awarded a second phase of the transfer switch project for more pump stations, which we got to get out for bid. But none of these locations are the same. So all of the transfer switches are at sewer pump stations. These are all either the 3 at Academy or at water well sites. So they're not any of the same locations. And they are all Cummins diesel generators that we purchased.
We don't have one at the North Monument site yet.
Not yet, no, sir. That would be purchased during the project perspective.
This is gonna consume most of our uncommitted funds.
Most of our uncommitted R&R funds right now, yes, sir.
If we don't get them.
If we don't get them redone, yes, sir. Now, we're still waiting on reimbursement for the first phase of the project. That's not going to be a huge amount of money, but we're still waiting on that. And of course, we transfer funds into that on a monthly basis, so we're going to keep utilizing those funds as we accrue them. But this would consume the bulk of the currently uncommitted funds for projects.
How, on our past record, how quickly does the uncommitted funds grow
We transfer,
if we're not tapping?
we currently transfer approximately $750,000 a month into that uncommitted funding. So it's about $9 million a year. Next year's budget, which we'll talk about at the Finance Committee, puts $10 million in there, so that'd be about $800,000 a month that would go in there at that point.
When did they start design of this?
When did they start design? They started design, well, they did sizing of the generators first. We waited 84 weeks for the generators to get here, and then they started design after that. So they probably started design on this late 23, mid to late 23, sometime in there. Yes, sir. It did take a little bit of time to get the design completed, particularly once we had to get a structural involved to design the platform for the big generator. That stalled us for a few months as well. So yeah, we were awarded funding in 2020, but by the time we sized the generators and got them bought, that was a 2-year process.
Howard Coffin, how they gonna raise that up?
Concrete. We're just gonna pour concrete, get it out of the floodplain. There, again, the belly tank counts.
Where's it located on that site?
Well, I don't remember exactly where it's located now, but if you give me just a second, we send an addendum. Krista, you didn't delete my addendums off the website, did you? We all know one way to get places, okay? So, approximately the red will be the location of the generator. So we laid it out with staff, and that is the approximate size of the generator based off of the specifications from the purchase. So they'll be away from the well site, away from the building, away from all the piping and power as it comes in to try to locate it as close to the existing transfer switches that will be taken out and a new one put in that location as we can.
Diesel stored underneath the generator?
It's a belly tank, yes, sir. So the diesel, there's a tank that's about 2 foot tall. Underneath it's fueled. That doesn't have to be out of the floodplain. Just the actual generator has to be out of the floodplain, so we don't have to build it up quite as far because we get 2 foot of space from the belly tank. It's double walled. The tank is double walled.
Where's our well there?
Right here. Sir? This will be the generator, long-term generator here. The current generator is in the building. Well, this is, you can back up into here without a hole. You'd have to pay attention a little bit, but you can get in there. That's not a big deal. And
Diesel truck's gonna be backing in there past the wells.
yes, sir. They have to do that where they don't pass the well now. They have to come in and then pass on this side now to get to the generator, which is over on this side of the building now. But as you know, this is a very low area out there, so this is the lowest site we actually have to put a generator at right now. And FEMA requires you to be 1 foot outside of base flood elevation, which is, you've got to be at least 11 foot elevation.
What is that, 5?
I think it's 5.5 right there. No, sir. There's no way to prevent all forms of stupidity, but I don't think that would be a major concern. So we also laid it out for the other sites too. If you're curious, Goodyear well, if you're not familiar where the Goodyear well is, it is packed back in there in a very tight quarters over there near the hospital. So again, trying to make it where we can still have access to everything. That would be located near the fence line there. The Fledsey well, this one's one of the more open places we have. So again, trying to avoid water lines and get ease of access. It would be located outside the building here. Mallory, very tight site right there on Mallory. We put in here, you could install it here if you bid the alternate, but the vast preference is to install it inside the existing generator building, which is right here, so that it's further off the road and you could actually back in there. And then this is the airport site on St. Simons, which is probably our most open well site we have. If we had this much property at every location, we would have much more flexibility. So it'll go, this is the existing generator here, it'll go right here behind the existing generator. And then Academy, the existing generators are in this brick building here. We'll be setting the 750 and the 450 here, right outside one digester 2. And then here's where the new generator, this building is no longer there. That was a portable building. That has been moved. So we will be consuming a portion of the sidewalk here, but.
Where's that? Where's that?
This is, okay, if you're over here, this is the admin, this is the lab building. This is the admin building and the warehouse. This is digesters 3 and 4. So because of the way the drain system works out there, we're very limited in the places we could actually put a generator this size. So they're going to basically run conductor all the way down the edge of this building, paralleling this gravity main to stay out of having to cross that gravity main with those large diameter conductors.
What structure is that right to the left, Andrew? Right
This?
there?
This is the warehouse, the old DAF building. And this is the old Pinova pumping building that doesn't do anything anymore. So we talked about tearing it down and putting it here, but then you got a whole process of demoing that, rebuilding the slab. So that was actually going to cost us more money. And we went through that process of examining that for a while. If you go down there now, this generator is sitting right here off the side of this digester now.
How long do they have to do the work?
9 months. And the first 3 they're required to do per the bid documents are the 3 at Academy Creek.
When we paid for the generators up front, we paid something and they get reimbursed, right?
Yes, with the FEMA process, yes. Once the project is complete, you cannot request partial reimbursement. You have to finish the project, then request reimbursement. So we've paid for those for a couple years now, but we can't request reimbursement until they're installed and in service. Another reason why,
We're loaning the government money.
right now, we've loaned them a pretty good bit. About $1 million that we're waiting on reimbursements on right now. So when we get the reimbursement back for the first phase of the transfer switch, that will help go into the uncommitted funds as well, as you were talking about earlier. So there's things like that that help rejuvenate those funds. No, we have not taken a motion.
I move that the Facilities Committee recommend awarding a contract to Popco for the installation of 8 fixed generators in the amount of $4,905,080.
Second.
First and second, any other questions? There's 3-0. Thank you, Andrew. Dedication of easements and infrastructure, Mr. Klein.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good afternoon. We have 3 items on here. The first 2 are associated. They're side-by-side easements that are resulting from 2 adjacent property owners requesting an alley abandonment from Glynn County. These 2 are on St. Simon's Island, just off Circle Drive. And the third one is an easement that we've acquired to help us facilitate, or it's actually critical for us to facilitate, Division 3 of our Exit 29 water loop project. All right, jump down here and show you the locations of these things here. First one, Circle Drive, just north of the St. Simon's Island Airport.
Sorry. Got you off your bookmarks.
That's why I bookmark them. Let's see. Okay. All right, and so this is the area we're talking about here, this alley section in here, within which Joint Water and Sewer Commission does have water and sewer assets. In this case, it's a gravity main, needs to stay there. And so we've obtained an easement from 111 and then also 118 right here. These 2 property owners they've submitted to dedicate easements to us for that.
We have that sheet in our.
There's
Yes,
a there's a
an easement
screenshot
plat.
of it.
I see this, I don't see anything.
Do y'all see this one? Pull up on the screen also here.
Yes, sir. It's at about halfway back in that item in that packet. It folds out. So past the easement documents, there should
There
be
we go.
something that's folded together there.
Yeah, this one right here. And the first 2 items are going to look exactly the same, basically the same easement plat, where it's referenced in the legal descriptions. A separate one for each easement. This is pretty typical. We see a lot of unopened right-of-ways. Property owners have the right to request abandonment out to the middle of said unopened right-of-way and extends the frontage on that right. We see these as they come in as abandonment requests through Glynn County's review process. First thing we do is check and see what assets we have there, and second thing is there any potential for future assets, joint water and sewer assets? And if so, we will typically request, as condition of joint water's endorsement of that abandonment, provision of an easement.
What are we requesting? What do they want on this?
Well, they're granting an easement over existing sewer lines because they're requesting the county abandon the unopened right-of-way to them.
Right. So the two property owners are right here and right here. This property owner wishes to abandon, or for Glynn County to abandon this portion of their alley, unopened alley right-of-way. This property owner wishes for Glynn County to abandon this portion. And we have a sewer main that runs down this unopened right-of-way.
So what size easement will we have?
It's total width,
They-
20 foot, it's 20 foot.
County's abandoning the roads and we're getting an easement, is that right? what
That's
It's not a
correct.
road, it's
It's-
unimproved.
Unimproved right-of-way.
Yeah, they call it unopened alley, unapproved, yeah. Yeah, it's currently public right of way, but it's just not used for public ingress egress. No, sir.
Because it was
Public right.
unopened right-of-way, there was never an easement.
So what size easement are we gonna have?
Each one is donating, well, the abandonment is to the center line of the unopened alley, so it's 10 foot on either side, so it's still gonna remain the 20 foot, that it is now with the right of way. Everything else above here is gonna remain public right of way, unopened. As adjacent property owners see what happens here, they're probably gonna request theirs, and they'll request theirs, and typically that's what happens.
But that hadn't come to the county yet.
No, sir. Yeah, these are the only two that we've seen. Yeah, well,
But this is fairly standard for the county to do this at this point.
If they're not trying to alter the
Right.
alley.
Fairly standard now. Back when a lot of this was installed, they took advantage of those unopened right-of-ways and put lines in, so that's why we always request the easement at that time.
that gives a little better picture there. You can see that it's obviously not used, or apparently not used for travel. It's heavily wooded. We should probably get in there every so often and make sure that our
Get the old
sewer
easement-
mains are
gotta
not
get the
being-
old easement machine back in.
Yeah,
there.
that's right. Okay.
South end.
All right, so then that's, if no more questions on that one, let's take a look real quickly down at Cinder Hill. Okay. All right, this is exit 29 area. Okay, here is the exit 29 treatment plant. All right, this is where our exit 29 elevated storage tank is going. We're gonna have a water line that connects out to the water line on, or water main on Southport. And then as part of this, the third division of this project, we're making two key loops. We're actually gonna loop up here on Cali, back out here to the water main on Southport. And the second loop is gonna be here between these two subdivisions here, Cinder Hill right here, and then Barrington Oaks. In order for us to do that, we needed to obtain an easement from either one or both of the property owners. The property owner at 186 Cinder Hill Drive was receptive and has agreed and endorsed dedication of a 10-foot water main, water and sewer utility easement for our water main on his property wholly. So the whole 10-foot easement will be on this side right here.
And then when we connect those together, currently both of those neighborhoods are single fed off of Southport Parkway. So once we connect them together, the single feeds into each neighborhood will actually make both neighborhoods be looped out there, which will help water movement and flows and pressures out there.
That's right. Here's a plat for the easement.
Is that the water line we're putting in to serve the tank?
Not to serve the tank, but when we were doing the tank project, we were looking for locations that made sense while we were down there to go ahead and install these loops. We try, as part of the private development review process, to get loops where we can. Sometimes it's not feasible, particularly if neighborhoods are built at different times. There's already structures in the way. So this didn't happen at that point, but this will be a very helpful loop, real convenient loop to help stabilize flows and pressures in that area.
So we're just asking for an easement on this.
A total of 3 easements, correct? The first 2 are associated there on Circle Drive, and this third one is in between Cinder Hill and Barrington.
Where are we on the encroachment on the water line we want for the new well? Did we get anywhere on that? And we don't have to dwell on that now.
No, that's not impacting here. That's part for the feeding the new elevated tank, the Cinder Hill.
The tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's understanding what is being requested.
That's the guy who's,
But he is encroaching on us.
That's correct.
Okay.
he's got the swimming pool, right?
Yes, sir.
That's it. Yeah, so the property line here, this is joint water property. It's a parcel, actually. So their existing fence comes as far in.
What we approached him about was essentially putting his fence up against his pool decking, and whatever that property is required to go outside his pool decking, he would get that resurveyed, appraised, and then he would compensate us for that amount of property.
And that's in the process of being worked through and on track to not be further.
Yeah, I don't think that will come into play with the project for a while, because once the tank site gets built, the water line will be one of the later things that goes in.
Okay. I didn't mean to get us off of that, but
Well, can I have a motion?
I move that the Facilities Committee recommend the full commission approve and accept these easements with associated documentation.
second.
Second, all in favor? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Go to the discussion section, water production report, Mr. Burris.
Yes, sir. So for the month of March, I will say we get our meters calibrated quarterly, so I would expect the April numbers to look different. But it says we only had 8% water loss. I think that's probably because our produced, not metered, our produced water at the well sites, those meters probably are slightly out of calibration, reading a slightly lower produced value. And so it reduces the water loss calculation. So I would expect that number to go up next month. If we were only doing 8% water loss system-wide, we would be an elite company nationwide for water loss. But so for the month, 6.8 metered per day across all 3 systems. A little over, almost 31,000 water bills for the month. We're getting closer to that next milestone number there. But if we go down to the next page on the mainland system, the Howard Coffin well is very near being brought back up. They have completed the grouting of the new casing. Remaining items are to actually reinstall the well pump and motor and get it turned back on. So unless there's something wildly unexpected, that should be back online by the end of this week. And as you can see, the Goodyear Park well is taking the brunt of Howard Coffin not being online. So really need to get that Howard Coffin well back online so we can knock some of that usage off of Goodyear Park. But excluding that, Brunswick Villa well has not been used very much. We're trying to use that less and less whenever possible. It does come on. We turn it on manually periodically, but we try not to turn it on automatically due to what we talked about, where it being the closest one to the saltwater plume. And then across the board, though, for the month, 4.6 million gallons a day on the mainland, and 2 water complaints, both of which were dirty water complaints post-flushing, which tends to happen when you flush lines, you stir stuff up, and then if it's been sitting in the service, it will, when you turn the faucet on, you get some dirty water as a result. But you do see a slight reduction from water usage from this time last year. Some of that could obviously be leaks being corrected by customers with the new meters being notified about leaks. Some of that also could be lack of water use from previous large industrial customer on the mainland impacting that. For St. Simons for the month, that system pretty well balanced considering the densities south and north, but 2.4 million gallons a day on St. Simons. for the month of March, and very much in line where we were last year. Kind of remarkable that it was that close to where it has tracked the first 3 months of the year. Very limited flow differences month to month there, as we, of course, head towards the peak of tourist season where we will have the most water usage on St. Simons. And then down at the South Mainland for the month, Fancy Bluff and Brookman Wells. Brookman Well ran a lot more than Fancy Bluff for the month. We were having some issues at Fancy Bluff. That has been corrected. It was a SCADA issue, wasn't calling for it to run. We've got that corrected, so the next month they should be much closer to being back balanced the way they were. But a little over 360,000 gallons a day for the month down at the Exit 29 region, which is slightly higher than it was this time last year, but obviously there is a lot of growth going in the South Mainland district right now, and so we're starting to see more and more customers come into our system down there at the south end. Any questions on the water report? All right, Academy Creek for the month on the wastewater side, 6.4 million gallons a day leaving the wastewater plant. Actively under construction wastewater plant. If you go down there now, there are people everywhere. So make sure you're wearing your PPE if you show up on site. But you'll notice one thing that should jump off the page on that is the influent TSS number. We are artificially increasing our RAS rates at the plant by using the drain systems on the clarifiers because our pumps won't do what we need them to do. That's why we're trying to replace them. So that is artificially increasing the influent TSS numbers as we're sending solids back through the influent. However, it's not causing problems at the plant because the TSS leaving is 4, so we're doing well there. Did see the ammonia had trended down after last month. It has further trended down to month to date, and they are set to begin working on the RAS stations to install the new RAS pumps on Clarifier 5 next week, and then they're estimating 2 weeks per clarifier to redo the RAS pumps, the piping, and complete the electrical changeouts there. But for the month, 96% BOD removal, almost 99.7% TSS removal based off that influent number. And then did not move as many solids for the month as we did previously. The month of April will go back to where we had been the previous 2 months. We had some downtime with our presses and with some staff members that impacted that, but they are back to running 24/7 on solids too, so that we can waste additional solids out of the clarifiers and further reduce the ammonia at the facility.
Over force main that comes into the influent structure, does it come into the bottom?
It comes into the bottom of the splitter box past the influent structure. So we will not be able to utilize that for future flow. We'll have to terminate that and bring it into the influent, if anything was to be turned into that.
Right now it's just full. It just stays full now.
Yes, sir. They float it full of water. Assumably, it's still full.
Remember that force main.
We are working to acquire title to the property, and there's a lot of discussion back and forth of actually trying to locate this force main because we don't know exactly where it's at, but the cost to locate that force main may be prohibitive, so we may just have to take whatever records we have as our best estimate. It's cast, I think, or is it steel? No, it's steel.
I think it's 60s vintage, so
Yeah.
I would imagine cast or ductile, one or the other, I would imagine.
It's ductile on the plant site, but I don't know what it is once you get out in the right of way. Because I've seen it on the plant site uncovered. It's ductile on the plant site. But we looked at some different technologies for locating. It is a very long force main, and so it ends up costing quite a lot. We even looked at the smart ball technology to find left and right. That's going to be a 6-figure investment just to locate it if we go that route.
Sewage service from that site when it's being developed.
Well, that's why we're trying to get the deed to the pump station. The pump station that's on site just needs to be demoed, and a new one needs to be built there. It has reached the end of its useful life, shall we say. And but we will have title. We're still working through that process about getting title of that property. Shouldn't be that much more work has to be done on that other than the force main, right?
Yeah, we have survey in hand.
Yeah. So we'll get title to the pump station site, and then we could put a new pump station there as things are built, but obviously we would like to have more ideas about what is going to go there before we start building pump stations.
That force main is not in existence.
It's mostly on their property, and then it goes into public right-of-way. Where it leaves their property and gets into public right-of-way is the subject of much debate. But it has been fairly dry for the year, so our flows at Academy are lower than they were at this point last year. We also are doing the 4002 lining project, which is contributing to that. We continue to find more bore-throughs that we are correcting, so that is also helping that process as well. So project hopefully will be finished up in June as per their current schedule. Dunbar Creek for the month, 2.9 million gallons a day at Dunbar. As we know, spring break begins in March, and so we typically see a bit of an uptick in flow in the March timeframe at Dunbar Creek, but plant being operated very effectively by staff there. 97% BOD and TSS removal, everything well within limits there at the facility. The improvements and the money we invested there are certainly paying benefits to us. And then if you look on the chart on the back, we're not 100% sure exactly where all the holes we found were. We have corrected a great deal of bore-throughs over there on St. Simon's, and so it seems to be paying a tremendous amount of help to us because the flow is considerably lower than it was this time last year at a facility that size. So we're continuing to work through that process, but again, we haven't had substantial rainfall yet, so that is also helping as well. Then at exit 29 for the month, a little over 560,000 gallons a day at exit 29, about little over a third of the capacity used down there. But that is a plant that is operating very well as well, kind of down there by itself. 96% BOD, 97.5% TSS removal. Did run a little more sludge at Southport than we had been in previous months. Sometimes we don't always have to run sludge there because we have so much excess capacity in the digesters, but occasionally we get a little behind and have to make up some ground to make sure we do continue to have excess capacity down there at exit 29 in the solids handling processes. But again, very similar to where we were this time last year at exit 29, which does tend to lead to believe that a lot of the water usage that we're seeing increase at exit 29 is outdoor water usage for irrigation and other uses. So
Most of the septic come to Academy Creek.
all of the septage comes to Academy Creek. We don't accept septage anywhere else
Where does it go once it gets to Academy Creek?
into the influent. They come in right there by the generator building. There's a little turn in there. You turn in right there by the generator building between the generators and AB2. It's a circle drive. They dispose right there. That drains through that 42-inch drain into the influent. Goes through the bar screens, grit, the whole nine, yes, sir. Used to, it went straight to the digesters. And long term, that might not be a bad idea to go back to that.
All right, thank you. Back again for the construction progress photo report. I will progress through this fairly quickly here. First project to talk about, ARCO, Area Water Sewer Extension. We're nearing the completion of this project. As it stands, all of the gravity mains have been tested and deemed adequate. And now the last little bit is some paving and cleanup to happen in there. Then bringing on the new customers.
But to that point, as he referenced bringing on new customers, we finally heard back from EPA that our grant that we were awarded from EPD has been approved, and we're getting the paperwork together. We have one question we need to get answered from EPD before we start the project, mostly about sequencing, not about how we're going to do it, but just the sequence we need to do things in, and then we'll get that grant program out to the future customer base in the very near future.
Along here to Canal Road Water Production Facility, another excellent project that's nearing completion there. Last week there was a shakedown of the equipment, kind of a preliminary soft start, we'll call it. Develop some punch list items and whatnot. A lot of staff involvement with the contractor and their subs and the different equipment representatives there as well. There's a good shot of the inside of our distribution pump or service pump room. Peerless pumps there, looking good.
That is a very nice layout we've got there. I was out
Yeah.
there the other day. That's going to be very effective once we get that online.
Yeah, one thing different on this building here is also the window access. You can see from one room to the next pretty easily. I think it eases the operators or make their job a lot easier. All right, this up top here is a shot of something you may never have noticed, but on top of our ground storage tanks is an aeration tray. And this is where the water comes out of the well, straight up through the center pipe here, and then it cascades over the top like a water fountain. Very beautiful. Nice, pleasing sound. Puts you to sleep. And the purpose of this is to agitate the water and then extract the naturally occurring hydrogen sulfide gas. Some people believe they can taste a hint of sulfur in the water. Has certain medicinal purposes possibly, but most people don't want it in their water, so we do this to extract it and remove it naturally. No chemicals involved. It's simple aeration and agitation of the water. Then the water follows through the tray, and then you can see the outside of the screen. Keeps all of the critters out here, and the water then falls into the tank.
When are we going to fill that tank?
So,
Well, it is partially filled now. They're going to have to drain it and refill it.
right.
So it should be on. I'm hoping it's online by the end of the month. At this point.
I keep looking at the gauge.
Yeah.
Look at there. Yeah, see?
Well, they filled it up. This is a classic example of we sometimes have to do things twice. When you bring on new equipment like this, you have to super chlorinate it to make sure everything's clean. Then you drain it out. Well, Reeves Young pumped in to do the soft startup we were talking about. Well, it's going to sit there long enough. They're going to have to re-super chlorinate it before they put it online.
Yeah, that water will sit
It'll
for a little
sit
bit of time.
there,
And,
and you just,
yeah, yeah, might not be as fresh.
yeah.
You can tell you're part of the club here, and you can't turn back now. When you drive by these things out, wherever you are, you're going to notice this and look for it. Yes, this is a ground storage tank, and this is a water level indicator.
That is very accurate.
Very accurate. One of the most simple mechanisms we have. There's a float here that rises and falls with the surface level of the water, and there's a cable around a pulley and a little indicator on a scale bar here. So
Yeah,
that's
and fulls at the bottom of the scale.
Fulls at the bottom, yes,
Yeah.
sir. That's right.
Works counterintuitive.
Yeah, that's the secret. That's it.
Down road to the right.
That's Driggers.
Yes.
That's the current Driggers right away.
Yeah,
That's
here-
going to be
here-
relocated.
That's going to be changed. That's going to be closed. Right?
Yeah, that's going to be closed.
Closed off, and the only limited access for International Guard and EPD is just the road. New rear limits on the other side, west side with the side. There we go. The ortho photos are not updated for all the construction. Now, this is the well site, and out here. We will come in and see where this way. Yeah. All these trees no longer there.
Come a long way on that road.
Made a lot of progress.
Look at a shot here. That's the well itself. It's been rehabbed like new condition. It's all new, or all fresh painting and everything on that. It's our RPZ or backflow protection device. This is the flow meter pit that tells us how much water the station is producing.
Hey, Todd, what's that thing he's leaning on right there?
Oh, this thing here?
Yeah,
Oh, well, it's a thermal protection device.
it is, yeah. So when it does get to be below freezing weather, most of the leaks that we find are on exposed backflow preventers that people have nothing, a simple,
Doghouse.
bedspread
Yeah.
comforter wrapped around it will keep them from freezing. But in these super cold temperatures, the bulk of what our crews do is go around and cut off water to backflow preventers because the vertical pipe on the backflow has burst. So we put a little structure over it, fiberglass structure over it. It's not very costly, but at the very least, wrap some towels around that thing and help us out when it gets super cold.
Most of them around the county are exposed.
And most of them are exposed, that's right. We did have them, whether it was a couple years ago when we had the big freeze. There was one hotel out at exit 36 that I think was the only one that didn't bust in that 4-day period where it never got above freezing, and they had literally taken comforters and just wrapped around it with duct tape. But that's all you got to do is basically give it a little bit of help.
Very effective, very effective. All right, so this one's serving this yard hydrant here
Yeah.
for operator use on site, but we still have to make sure even our own hydrants.
And I'll also
and whatnot.
notice that is one of the new meter boxes installed there for
Good.
water meter reading for the site.
Little puck right there, I believe. And the site even looks even better now today. This was pictures from last week. So if you get out there, take a look around. It's looking really, really nice out there. Next project is one of the group of 3 pump station rehabs here in downtown Brunswick. It's 4002 near Mansfield Street. Couple shots of the inside. It's a 60s vintage structure, pump station, looking like new on the inside now. Refurbished.
Do you have any idea what's still remaining on the punch list for that project, Todd?
It's just final it's programming, and it's just down to the very minor electrical punch list items. A couple little things like here, which they should have done now, is a sump pump reconnection. Just minor little items to get it done. Pump station 4044. This is their formerly known as Payless or Brakes for Less. This is the location of the old station. Zoom in a little bit here. Worth mentioning. This is the former location of Pump Station 4044. The new and improved Pump Station 4044 is here on a piece of property we obtained from the bank next door. This is the crossing still to be repaved. The discharges to our manhole, receive manhole out in the roadway.
And the paving will be done at night.
At night, and we're exploring for recommendation from the commission installation of some bollards here for extra visual protection in some areas. They handle that outside of the project, let this one close up and do that as a separate item, but excellent suggestion, recommendation from the board. So another good shot of the station there. It's a good looking station. All right.
And the cleanup and around there, it looks good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
They did a nice job out there. I was out there the other day.
Pass that along.
Need some grass growing, but other than that, it looks good out there.
Yep, yep.
I had a contractor tell me one day he can put pipe in and concrete in all day long. He can't make grass grow.
The design has a lot of features that we've, through the years, working heavily with preferences and recommendations from operations on how they need things configured. So we're down to a pretty good standardization on our stations. Panels, canopies, disconnects, all that.
And speaking of standardization, we all know that our industry tends to be very small. We've had multiple other utilities that have spent the day with us looking at our new pump station builds and trying to glean what they can from us and take back to their utilities, whether it's mostly around the way we're laying out our electrical and SCADA systems and things like that. That seems to have caught traction. We've talked with a couple of people from Valdosta. We've talked with some people from multiple times from JEA that are coming up from Jacksonville looking at what we're doing. So we're always happy to help out our fellow water industry folks around the state and in the region if they think what we've got is a better mousetrap that they want to try to take advantage of.
This is what we're standardizing as far as the fence.
Yes, sir.
Good.
I will say that the JWSC staff is among the elite in what you see around. So
We'll definitely pass that along. Thank you, Commissioner, for saying that. We get to work with some excellent folks here and leadership. All right, next project is, let's see this one down. Well, another shot here of the station internal. A couple good views, and here's the bollard. Maybe we'll get some bollards out here. Still installing those as we talked about before. And old existing wet well top. We're grading the stone a little bit there. That is Popco.
Is that the same crew that's doing the Highway 17?
That is them. You may recognize
They
these folks in the
relocate one
pictures
crew to
here.
the next site. They're there for 6 or 8 weeks, and they go to the next one. They're very effective at what they're doing for us.
Very capable contractor there. Okay, Dunbar Creek.
Dunbar Creek, we really have 2 remaining items. You can see the new paving that has went in there around the plant. Looks very good. There's, I say 2 items. There's 3 items. There's a couple of sections of paving that's the paving's been done a month, and there's already grass growing up through it, which we're having them address because we shouldn't have grass growing through pavement that's a month old. So we're going to get them to potentially cut that out and re-pave those sections as necessary. There are punch list items in the new clarifier that's sitting there. The troughs are going to have to be on the launders, are going to have to be recaulked all the way around. They're in the process of doing that now. You typically would not see this during normal operations because it's full, but if water gets in the trough from, say, a rain event or anything like that, those troughs are leaking back into the clarifier, which could cause some short circuiting. So talk to the contractor. He's taking all of it apart, putting it back together, and recaulking the whole thing. So that is a very tedious process, but they're actively working on that right now. And the other thing we've got to do, if you'll scroll down, Todd, to this next picture here, in that pit with those structures, that's where we're putting in the chemical feed equipment as necessary to meet the new proposed permit limits. And submittal review has been completed for that, and it's under order. It's about an 8-week lead time on the equipment for it to get here, and then they'll get that installed. So good to see the fresh pavement down. The staff is very excited about having level ground to ride upon coming into the plant and everything like that. So it looks really nice over there. That project, again, has been very effective for us.
Okay, another one of the 3 pump stations here. Again, Popco, our contractor, on site. This is at 4001. And even from these pictures, if you drive by today, you'll see a lot of progress happening out there, or even looking a lot different.
What are all those posts for?
That's for the new canopy that's going over.
Yeah, 4-inch.
We built a canopy over all of our electrical panels, not because the electrical panels can't get wet, they're enclosed, but because the staff really likes to have a place they can stand and work on electrical panels in the dry.
Are we going to be replacing the fence too on this?
It's not planned to at
Not
this
yet.
time, sir.
That was a cost savings remove. Okay, another good shot of the new panel configuration.
Now, we will be relocating those new panels that got installed. That's not the ideal location. If you scroll up, right there. Those panels that were installed between the wet well and that, my understanding is those are going to be moved back onto the pad. They were waiting on something to be demoed. Because right now you really can't, that's not functional the way it's currently located, so that's been pointed out to the contractor.
There it is. Okay, Highway 17 North Pump Station. That was moving along, progressing very well. It's, also, if you drive by there, you'll see it looks a lot different than even these pictures here. The above ground piping, which you can see some of it here, is all in place. I think we're probably going to see a startup on that in the next couple of weeks, I would believe, certainly by the end of the month. All right, so former private pump station was somewhere in this area, maybe a little further to the end of the DOT right away, even somewhere out here. And that is gone now. Force main comes across and discharges this way back to the airport area, industrial park area. Picture here. You can also see the Highway 17 widening project going on right now to the east of the site. Here's Georgia Power installing our pole to get 3-phase power, because all of our new stations are energized with 3-phase power. That's another standardization. Nice, good site.
Putting in three-phase power is more costly on the front end, but it reduces the size you need downstream for everything because it cuts the amperage requirements in half by going with three-phase power.
Absolutely. Okay. There's that. Let's see. Good shots here at the site. A lot of activity going on there. All right, the last of the 3 pump station group is 3101. That rehab is also, here you can see a panel and whatnot, still going to be demolished. But that side as well. Move along. Still got the service drop, I think. Yeah, there's still the service drop. You can't really see it in the picture. But the Comcast building just to the south of us, there's service drop from this power pole here. Comes across right across the top of the site. So that's not good for us. It's right here. Just going to get back on and they're moving around. So that's still got to be relocated by Georgia Power. But so far so good there. Another good. Looks like a lot going on here, but this panel here is going to get demolished, taken out. And I think once it's done, I think maybe we're going to do some pump changes in this station, I think, when we...
Valves.
Right? Maybe.
Valves are the next thing we got to do in there.
So a little in-house improvements. Again, the emphasis that we honed down on with these 3 pump stations was electrical. That's what was called out in the master plan. It's the largest item. Little shot back view there. These are the most beautiful bottle brush bushes if you ever get out there and look. They are the healthiest bottle brushes I've ever seen in my life. Apparently they like living next to a pump station. Okay. Academy Creek. RAS and UV upgrades.
All right, so the first picture there, that is looking from the filter structure back towards the chlorine contact chamber. They're installing a 48-inch gravity line, and that blue valve with the riser coming off of it is a butterfly valve that has been installed. You will notice that the operator has turned the wrong direction because they're supposed to be able to operate that off of the actual concrete platform. So that is going to be turned the other direction. We pointed that out to them that perhaps our staff was not quite tall enough to utilize that operator in its current location. That's being tied in now. They're subcontractors on site demoing a lot of the concrete that's in the way. As you look back towards the clarifier, towards the top of the picture, there's a concrete structure that's got to be demoed out of the way. They're in the process of demoing that now. Crane is on site to lift the sections of concrete as they are cut out of the way. And if you scroll down to the next picture, there you can see the bypass setup. They're pulling bypass out of the combined clarifier effluent line for clarifiers 1 through 4. And their bypass, there's 5 pumps, 3 of which go to the filters, 2 of which go straight to the contact chamber. For whatever reason we need to bypass the filters, we can use 2 pumps that go straight to the contact chamber. Typically we want to go to the filters, and so there's 3 pumps, but in high flow, 3 pumps will go to the filters, 2 pumps will go to the contact chamber until we get done doing that. And the other 2 clarifiers, one of them is offline now for them to begin the RAS improvements, but the other clarifiers are being bypassed out of the effluent troughs of those clarifiers into that manhole where the other 5 bypass pumps are sitting. And the contractor is working 24-hour shifts at this point to try to catch up from their delays they've run into thus far. Scrolling down. There's a good shot of the other side of that valve with the butterfly valve there as they're laying that 48-inch pipe. That is a very crowded area to lay 48-inch gravity sewer in, but they're making it work. They got to cross 2 duct banks, multiple water lines, and chlorine lines and everything else in there. So their hope is to install approximately 1 stick of pipe a day as they're going through there.
When do we anticipate that project being finished?
Their current schedule states it will be substantially complete in June with final completion in August. I think substantial completion is probably closer to August than final completion is to August at this point. And then you see them there. They pull the gates out, those new gates that were being installed in the UV system, the influent to the UV system. They've got the serpentine weirs installed downstream of the UV system, and electricians are working to install all the electrical equipment required for UV disinfection as well. And then they're also working on the next page in the RAS stations, running conduit to prepare to replace those RAS pumps. There are the old RAS pumps that will be taken out. Those are 7.5 horsepower pumps. We're putting in 30 horsepower chopper pumps that are on site and ready to be installed. And then there's a nice drone shot that Jason got of the whole facility project with, of course, downtown Brunswick in the background in that area there. So coming along well down there. Like I said, I went down there this morning. We have, our staff is doing 3 different internal projects down there. We've got that project going on, and then we had another contractor relocating some assets. The old aerators from the compost building were being hauled off, so there was a ton of work going on down there this morning, all simultaneously, but making progress in a lot of areas there. So very excited for the future at that facility.
Okay, Brunswick Villas, another project that's nearing completion, probably 80% or better complete there. Again, majority of the work was new gravity main installation. Didn't include the pictures here, but every time you go down and drive the neighborhood, you see 1 or 2 septic tank trucks down there. So the need is great in this neighborhood, just by that evidence, for folks to connect to public sewer. A lot of intricate digging in an existing neighborhood. Worked very well with Glynn County Public Works on a couple storm drain crossings that were encountered along the way. And then, again, just reemphasize cooperation with Glynn County. They already had one of the roads scheduled for repaving, and so we were able to remove that from our repaving, from our project. And that's back on Glynn County's schedule for paving now. Okay, 4002 cured in place piping.
Yeah, they're about 60% done with the lining portion of that. It's about 15,000 feet that they've knocked out. They are doing the smaller diameter lines first. There's a couple that have given them some problems. We have a line collapse during the lining process over in Windsor Park that is currently being bypassed while they're getting point repair crews in here to fix that, and then they'll line through the point repair when they're done. And then they're having to reline the pipe over here on MLK and G Street where we had the water main break the other day, so they're having to reline that. But they're moving along. They've still got the larger diameter pipes by the station, the ones down by on Reynolds Street near the courthouse and the Pate building, and the large diameter lines that are in the middle of Gloucester that have to be lined as well. So they are about to get to the challenging ones. They're expected to be wrapped up by the end of the month, although they still have some lines that have to be done by Glenn Academy, so those may have to wait till after school is out so that we can effectively get in there and get those lines handled. But you can see on that bottom picture there, if you've never seen that, that is what the liners look like before they actually go in. They just come in folded material right there, and then they prep them on site and fill it up with boiling water and let it cure. So it doesn't look very impressive, and then when you get done, there's a brand new pipe inside the old pipe. So they are finding quite a lot of scale on the old cast iron and ductile iron lines in downtown that their cleaning is taking a little longer than they expected. But Todd, I didn't tell you, Billy is actually in town doing cleaning himself, so we got the right man for the job.
It's a family affair.
Family affair, absolutely.
There you go. Be Billy. All right, very good. That concludes the pictures.
Currently out for bid right now. We have the on-call directional drill contract for water line, or not just water lines, for different size pipes. Did we do 12-inch as well? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 16-inch pipe drilling prices. We provide the material. Contractor comes in and drills it. We did it a couple years ago. Reasonably effective thus far. Just want to get updated pricing. Yes, sir, it's for 1 year. And then typically we can extend if it's a mutually beneficial relationship to continue forward. So we use that a lot on the galvanized projects and things like that. Other than that, the next ones we'll be putting out would be the master plan update and the engineering for the neighborhood extensions for the SPLOST projects. So we got to get that taken care of. Now that all three of the divisions of the other SPOS project are awarded, we know what we're working with on the remaining funds.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Questions?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Then our motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Adjourn, thank you.